So I looked at it and it said pregnant. And I was 16. And oh, he was 20 at this time. My boyfriend at the time, baby daddy, he was 20. So I was in a situation. Hey y'all, it's Melissa. Today I'm going to be talking about my 16 and pregnant story. This all was back in 2012, I believe. So I'm going to try to remember it as best as I can. I might be a little iffy on a couple details, but it's okay. So it all started when I was 15, actually, in high school. It was my sophomore year of high school, and I had a friend in one of my classes, and she asked me to hang out with her after school, and she was 16, so she had a car and all that. So I was like, okay. We were actually going to a guy's house that a guy she liked was friends with, so he was going to be over there. So we go over to this house, and she introduced me to the guy that lived there. And that's how it all started. So he was actually 19 and I was 15. We both knew how old each other were from the jump, and he still got my number, texted me, we talked all the time. He ended up being my boyfriend, and we started doing the do, and unprotected. Because of the age difference, obviously he couldn't come to my house and I couldn't go to his house because my parents wouldn't be going for their 15-year-old being with a 19-year-old, and his mother wouldn't go for him being with a 15-year-old. So we had to kind of keep it on the DL. So we would sneak around to see each other. I would go over to his house while his mom was at work. Instead of me going to school, he would sneak over to my house. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching this. But he would sneak over to my house. I would sneak out and see him. I think I had when I turned 16, we stayed together. We got together when I was 15. When I turned 16, I got a job at Kroger, and so a lot of times I would tell my parents I was getting off like an hour later or something. And so when I got off, I would go hang out at his house or hang out at the park by his house until I told them I was supposed to get off, and then I would go home. So we would just see each other like that. We were together for 2 years. So we did that for 2 years. So yeah, obviously throughout this time we were seeing each other, we were having sex. And unprotected sex, because throughout the whole first year of our relationship, we were doing it, and I didn't get pregnant. So I was like, I must not be able to have kids, because I would have gotten pregnant already. Stupid. Don't do that. That's dumb. The way that I found out I was pregnant, I actually knew. I knew before I took the test, because my periods were never late. Ever. They were every 28 days exactly, and my period was late. And also the symptoms that came before that were so weird. My boobs hurt really, really bad, which I wrote that off. That could just be period coming. But then I had the weirdest symptom. I was drooling so much, and I didn't even know that was a symptom of, or a sign of pregnancy. I did not know that. But I would like wake up, or the pillow, I would wake up and like this whole thing would be covered with drool from my sleep, which I know people drool in their sleep, but I had never really had, and that's an excessive amount. Like it would be like a huge puddle my face would be in. And it would like freak me out when I woke up. Like, oh my God, what's that? So yeah, and then I'd just be sitting there, like I'd be at school in class or something. I would just be sitting there writing, and then some drool would come in my mouth. Like I'm like, well, oh yeah, I was like, what is wrong with me? I didn't think I was pregnant though. I don't know. I thought my mouth was salivating some more for some reason. So once my period was late, me and my best friend, who's still my best friend today, hey girl, I told her, of course, I was like, ooh, I think I might be pregnant because I'm missing my period. And she was like, yeah, your stupid self probably is. We decided we had to get a pregnancy test. to see. So what we did, don't do this. We went to Walmart, and she put it in her purse. And we went to the bathroom, I believe, and took the pregnancy test out of the box, put the box in the thing, and then put the pregnancy test in her purse. I think that's what we did. I want to say that's what we did. I know we went in the bathroom, but I didn't take it at Walmart, so I'm pretty sure that's what happened. So after that, we left and we came home. I had a car at this time too, by the way. Yeah, so we went to Walmart, got the test, came home. We had done research, I guess, or we just knew, I don't know, that you were supposed to take it in the morning, take the test in the morning, and it had the most accurate results. So that's what we planned to do. So she spent the night, and then that morning I woke up to pee. I had to pee at like 5 in the morning, which I don't wake up early. Well, I do now because I have those kids. But then I did not wake up early. I woke up at like 5 a.m. that day because I had to pee. And I was like, oh my God, it's 5 a.m. I'm finna take this test. It's the morning. I'm finna take this test. So I took it. And I peed in the cup. And I put the test in the pee. And then I put the cap on it. I sat it there. I just sat there. I sat there and I was just looking at my little phone. Looking at the time, waiting for like the 3 minutes or whatever to be up, and I wouldn't look at it until the time was up because I didn't want to freak myself out. And it was one of the ones that said pregnant or not pregnant. So I looked at it and it said pregnant, and I was 16. And oh, he was 20 at this time. My boyfriend at the time, baby daddy, he was 20. So I was in a situation. So then after that, after I saw the test, I obviously woke my best friend up. I was like, girl, wake up, because it's pregnant. I was pregnant. I was pregnant. It's pregnant. I'm pregnant. Yeah. And she was like, bruh, your life is over, basically. She was so real. She was like, well, what are you gonna do? And I was like, I don't know. After that, it was crazy because I was sitting there and I think I was listening to Pandora or something, and the Ginuwine song, I don't remember what it's called, but I'll put it in. Hold on. My whole life has changed since you came in. So yeah, that song played, and she was like, yeah, your whole life has changed. Yeah. And I was like, oh. So after that, I think I texted my boyfriend at the time. I think I texted him and told him, because I think he knew I was taking the test, and I texted him and told him in the morning when I saw it that it was positive. I think I sent him a picture of it. I don't know, but I told him somehow. And then he was asleep, of course. So once he woke up, he called me. Me, my best friend, and him, we went to CC's, met up. He was excited. I was honestly excited too, because even though we did have the age difference and everything, I was in love with him, and I thought he was in love with me. So, even though I was young, I was not worried. I was like, we gonna get through it. It's gonna be okay, whatever. So we met up at Cece's, I guess just to see each other, because we just heard this huge news, and we were like, we just wanted to see each other and talk about it and everything, doing a text over the phone about it. So after that, we went to Target and looked at all the baby clothes, even though I was like probably just like 5 weeks, 6 weeks, I don't know. I was not far along at all. And we went and looked at the baby clothes, and we're like, oh my God, it's so cute. We gotta get this for the baby. I was scared, of course, that I was pregnant, but at the same time, I was excited, and I wasn't worried because I was in love with the child's father. So I was like, we gonna have kids when we get married anyway, so we might as well have one now. Who cares? Bloop, bloop, bloop. Side note, my parents did know about him, and I was like banned from seeing him. Let's keep that in mind throughout this whole thing, that they did know about him and they knew that that was my boyfriend, but to them he was not my boyfriend, and he was like a rapist, a sex offender, because I was a child, even though the age difference wasn't that big. But I mean, now that I'm a parent, I get it too, and I would have flipped the F out if my kids did it. After that, everything, it was kind of like uneventful. Nothing really happened. Everything was normal. I went to work. I went to school. Like, it was whatever. I didn't really I didn't tell anybody because I didn't want my family to find out, is why. Well, and because it's nobody's business. I told obviously my best friend knew because she was there with me when I took the test. And I told my other best friend at the time, and I think I told my other best friend. So I had two of these best friends are still my best friends today. The other one, but yeah. So I told my three best friends at the time, and that was it. I didn't tell nobody. I didn't want nobody in my business. The baby daddy knew, and my friends knew. That's all they needed to know. So of course I never went to the doctor or anything because I was 16. Obviously I was on my parents' insurance, so I wouldn't have been able to go to the doctor without them, so I didn't go to the doctor. But I guess, speaking of my parents, let's talk about how they found out. So my parents okay, so let me break it down. So in my house was me, my sister, my older sister. She is 5 years older than me, so she would have been 21 at the time. But I don't know if she was living, no, she wasn't living there. She was off at school, but she would come home for the weekends and stuff. So me, my sister, my mom, my dad, and my grandma, which is my dad's mom, all lived at my parents' house. And how I would have preferred for everybody to find out would have been my sister first, and then my mom, and then my grandma, and then my dad. But how it actually happened was the opposite. The complete opposite. Literally, the complete opposite is how they found out. It's so stupid now that I look back at it, but at the time, it was like the worst moment of my life. So, I was sitting in the living room, and my dad was in there, and my grandma was in there. And I was like, Dad, I gotta tell you something. And it was like something about school or something I was proud of, like something about work or school or something. But I was like, it was something good that I was going to tell him. And he said, when I said, Dad, I got to tell you something, guess what? Or whatever I said. He said, what? You're pregnant? I was like, tears. And if I would have just held it together, I would have been like, no, it's this. But I guess the hormones in me, or I don't know. I just cried. And cried. And I was like, yes, but that's not what I was going to tell you. And he snapped. So then my grandma, she was in the room too, and she was like, what? And that old MySpace ad that was on the top of MySpace with a little smiley face that said, what?
Say something! What?
Anyways, so she said, what? You're pregnant? And I was like, yeah. And yeah, my dad was like, so you are? And I was like, yeah. So yeah, during this whole thing, my dad was trying to blame it on my boyfriend at the time, which I get because I was 16 and he was 20 years old. And which it was a two-way street. I knew what I was doing. Like, you know what I mean? I was 16. I was obviously a child. I would make different decisions now, but at the time I knew what I was doing. I knew he could have gotten in trouble. I knew, and he knew too, but we were in love, which sounds creepy, but we were. So yeah, he was basically bashing my boyfriend at the time, and I was trying to defend him because I was like, it's not his fault. I was doing it too. So my dad called me a W word. Yeah, he said, I didn't know you were such a... Now I understand why that happened. I understand he felt the way he did because he was probably, I mean, he had to be heartbroken that his little baby girl is pregnant by this 20-year-old. And I hadn't finished school. I hadn't, like, you know, he thought my life was over, just like my best friend said. He told my mom, of course. Him and my grandma already knew because they were in the room when I busted out crying like a dang fool. So he told my mom. I didn't even get to tell her. And my mom told my sister. So my sister found out last, which is hilarious because she would have been the one that I would have told first if I would have told how I wanted to tell. And I was still early enough where I wasn't showing it at this point, so nobody really suspected anything. So at this time, when they found out, I was like probably like 8 to 10 weeks pregnant. And my parents told me that this is where it's gonna start getting hard for me. My parents told me that I either had to get an abortion or they were going to send my boyfriend at the time to jail. My dad was going to call the cops, and he was going to have my boyfriend at the time arrested for statutory rape. So, yeah. So, I told my boyfriend at the time, and we were both torn because neither of us wanted to have the abortion, but we also didn't want him to get in trouble and go to jail. And have to be a sex offender and all that. Yeah, we were just really torn. And what's crazy is, let me just add this side note in. Side note in parentheses. Years later, like, this was just a couple years ago that my dad told me this. And I'm 23 now, so this was the years after. He told me that he actually contacted the police, and a police officer actually told him to kill him. He told him to kill my baby daddy. Or not kill him, I don't think, but shoot him. Or something like that. And he was basically like, you'll get away with it. Don't worry about it. You'll get away with it. Right. So, yeah. Flabbergasted. Yeah, that was crazy. So, I'm glad he didn't do that. So, yeah. After my parents found out and they told me my choice, I stayed home for a couple of days from school because I was just really upset and I could not stop crying. I could not get myself together to go to school. I think I just locked myself in my room and I didn't even bother. I didn't even talk to nobody or nothing. Like, I just stayed in my room. I was upset. I was embarrassed that my family knew. It's a bad feeling. It's not a good feeling when you disappoint your family like that. It sucked. So I just hid out in my room. So I came back to school, and it was like like 3 days later, I went back to school. And I was really upset still because I was just like, what am I going to do? Both of these options are terrible to me. I don't want to have an abortion. I don't want my boyfriend to go to jail. What am I going to do? Should I run away? I was honestly thinking about running away. Just driving my car till I couldn't drive anymore and figuring it out from there. But I was like, how's that gonna work? What am I gonna do? I don't even know what to do. I don't know how to live my life. Like, I'm 16. I don't know what to do. So after that, my mom told me we can make an appointment for Planned Parenthood, and it doesn't mean you have to do it, but you can go and listen to what they have to say and get more details and educated about this process. I was like, okay, whatever, make an appointment, sure. So, and my mom was more understanding, and she told me, at the end of the day, it's my decision. Nobody can make me have an abortion. Yeah. I think that my appointment was like for that Friday or something. And we went to the Planned Parenthood appointment and she did an ultrasound. On the ultrasound, she said that she actually didn't see anything and they thought that the baby might have been too little or something, which actually that's not what ended up happening, which you'll see. But yeah, they did the ultrasound and then I decided I didn't want to go through with it, and also I think that they couldn't have done it anyways because they couldn't see the baby on the ultrasound, so they couldn't actually give me the whatever. I don't know. Well, I do know, but I don't want to really get into that. So yeah, so we made another appointment to come back and do the ultrasound and then I guess talk about it again, even though I knew in my heart I'm not coming to that daggum second appointment because I'm not gonna do this. Like, I cannot. And I'm gonna make a whole video about what happened next in more detail. But that same night that we went to the appointment, I actually ended up miscarrying that same night. It was one of the most difficult and heartbreaking times of my life. Especially at the age of 16 and the way that it happened. It hasn't been my only miscarriage, but it's the way that it happened. It was too much, especially for being 16 years old. It's too much for anybody, too much for any age, but still going through all that stress of school and everything that's going on, plus now I miscarried. It was ooh wee, it was hard. So yeah, my next video I'm gonna do is going to be on the miscarriage at 16 and what happened next and all the events. So yeah, if y'all want to watch that one, just subscribe to me and watch for it because I'm gonna put it out. It's gonna be hard for me to do, but I'm gonna do it just because I want to help if anybody else is going through something like this, because I understand and you're not alone. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me talk, and I'll see you next time. Bye.